All right. Welcome back. Yesterday was session 10 and we hit another roadblock, another obstacle in session 10. Not only have we run out of Perplexity computer credits on our personal pro plan for Atonimus, but we've also run out of Comet Assistant credits. So we've lost our automation abilities. So this is going to be interesting. I'm thinking in the next session, what we'll probably do is I'm going to include you in the session 11 planning so that you can see how that works. Because it's going to be a pretty significant planning session. So we've got to figure out how to automate things now that we don't have credits to use in Perplexity Computer. And I just want to restate, I could simply just buy more credits. I could probably reach out to Perplexity and say, hey, look at our website, look what we're doing. This is good for you guys. This is good advertising. Could you give us some more credits? But I don't want to do that. I want to live within the constraints of the project because it's partly the game. It's partly the challenge. I want to see how we can get through this. I want to show how we can start a business or start an autonomous AI agent who can set up businesses, create ideas, implement them, automate them, finance itself through doing this. This is the game, and I want to start from $0. And total disclosure here, we did spend a little bit of money, but it's minor. We bought a domain because I wanted to register those domains, one for shortening our links, but we spent so little money on it and we're not spending anything else. So this is part of what I want to live in because I want to prove this out. I want to show how someone can start from $0 and their personal pro account, which I already had with Perplexity, and how can I use what's given there to start something that, start a small snowball rolling down a hill and watch it pick up steam and get bigger and bigger and bigger, create better ideas, improve its existing ideas, be able to hand off ideas to it that it can automatically run and set up workflows, services, apps, businesses, and it self-finances and self-perpetuates, self-improves. So that's the purpose. I want to prove this out. And then I was thinking yesterday, as I was going through this, I was thinking, I need to probably revisit this. So take the lessons learned at some point here and go back and start over. Maybe set up another Perplexity Pro account, and knowing what I know now, knowing the differences between Comet Assistant and Perplexity Computer, I think I could do a better job and get further this time. Plus, I will have some experience. I'll have some prompts all ready to go that we can just get going from day one, simplify some things, and launch this. The other thing I've been thinking about, and I'm not sure what to do yet, this is probably what's going to happen in the next planning session, but I'm going to record that with Atonimus. We're going to discuss what are our other options. I do have a system set up where we could run an open Claude instance of Atonimus, which I was thinking we'd call Claudetonymous. So we could set up Claudetonymous and have Claudetonymous do some of the automation. Also, I am also ready to start playing with Hermes, and I was going to create a Hermes-based version of Atonimus as well and run through the same thing. I want to be able to do these things and hand off instructions, prompts, standard operating procedures, workflows that I can give you that will help you to do the same thing and learn from my mistakes, skip the things, jump over the cracks that I slipped in, and get going faster. So that's what I really want to do. This is the value I want to provide to you and helps. In order to do that, I think I need to play with these different versions. And then once I've played with them and got something into a configuration or a setup where it's now producing revenue, monthly recurring revenue, so it can self-finance. At that point, I think I will continue to help it to automate itself and become more autonomous and more, like I said, self-perpetuating, self-improving, self-financing. And then I can redo it and start a new version from scratch and have the existing Atonimuses say, how can we do this faster, better, cheaper this next time? How can we preserve our credits that we have and live within our budget that we set for ourselves? So this is the game. This is what I want to play. This is what I want to figure out. This is how I want to help other people get started and just say, hey, here's the quickest, shortest path. Start this from $0 or just with, your $20 monthly Perplexity Pro plan. And here's what you can do, or here's what you can do if you have a computer at home and you set up OpenClaw on it or Hermes on it and connect it to your ChatGPT Plus plan or something like that through OAuth and use it that way, here's how you could do it. So basically starting from something that you already have, a $20 a month subscription, and how with spending almost no other money, maybe just like I did, reserving a domain for yourself, for your project, something like that, which you don't even really need to do. Honestly, you could, as long as you can get the user names and handles and whatnot from the social media outlets that you'll be using, that's probably all you need to start. We started also yesterday in session 10, we built a website and almost got it finished when we ran out of Comet Assistant credits. Crazy. So I had to do the last 2 steps myself, which was creating two DNS entries. And I even got Perplexity to start the process of doing it. So today it wasn't remembering the limit for some reason. It just gave me a couple more browser automation tasks and it got it all set up. So literally all I had to do was copy paste an @ record, an A record for the domain, and copy and paste from Vercel the CNAME record for www and the text link. And once that was set up, it was done. I mean, it took me just a couple minutes. So that is what I was doing before starting this session. So now what I want to walk you through here in this session is, it's not a working session, but we're closing out yesterday's session. So the way I've set this up, at the end of each session, we close it out, kind of just take our bearings essentially with Atonimus, see what we're working on next, see what we completed, have Atonimus give some suggestions for what we do next, plus what do we need to do to update the master context file that I've talked to you about, also that I refer to as the MC file. And that MC, it's a markdown file. It's a file for those of you who don't know what a markdown is. Most of you do, I'm sure. But if you don't know what a markdown file is a text readable file that's in a format that's really good for both humans and AIs to read. It's a really good bridge between what's readable for us and what's readable for them. And it's just going to use less overhead for an AI to read that file. And it's in a format that you can totally read. So the MC file is a markdown file that we update after every session so that we know where we're at. We're retaining like the important decisions we've made, the work that we've done, and where we need to go next. So we're doing this, and this is something that I think is really important if you're going to be doing a project like this from Perplexity, from within a Comet browser with Perplexity. Also, if you're using Claude through the web-based app or ChatGPT through the web-based app to do this and update this is you at some point in time, the thread that you're working on, the chat that you have with that AI, that LLM, is going to get compressed, which means that it's just going to abbreviate things. And my experience with threads getting compressed has not been good. It does not retain all the context it needs to move forward. It kind of compresses it and makes shortcuts and like a summary that does not catch all the relevant experience or discussion and decisions. And I've literally had to go for this project, for Project Atonimus, back in and copy and paste everything out of a thread to rebuild the more fuller context, because it doesn't, at some point it was so good and really the depth and the accuracy of the responses were so spot on until the thread compressed. So that's why I said, look, you know what, let's build this MC file. I thought I was doing something similar to this already, and it turned out I wasn't. I was asking it to save it, but I found out that it thought it was saving it, but I needed to offload it from the thread. And then I was reloading it either into the space. I've done this in ChatGPT, put it into a project. Same with Claude. You can put it into the project there, and the project references that file, but you will have to update it. And Claude's been pretty good, and AI, ChatGPT have been pretty good about giving me files that I can download or just copy and paste. I prefer a download, and then I can just upload it. So it does most of the work for me, and then I just have to re-upload it to the space or the project. Perplexity has been just a little bit behind on that. I would say it's not as clean. Part of that, I will admit, is it may be me. I need to learn how to communicate better with Perplexity so that I'm saying the right things, giving it the right prompt, the right query for it to do that. So I realize I need to put in a little bit more work there. But so anyway, so in today's session, we're going to go through closing out a session, getting that relevant information, double checking it with Claude, And then we will be able to see if we are where we need to, you'll see how I close out a session, preserve the most important things that happened today. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen here. And I'll have my Claude window here. Is this session 10 window? Okay, perfect. So I've been double checking the output with Claude on that. So, and then also I'm going to move this down here so I can get into here. This is my session 10 browser session, or Comet assistant session, where you can see you've hit your limit for browser control tasks, and it wants me to upgrade, and I keep hitting that message. I've gotten it to do some things, you can see, between these messages. But anyway, so I am going to just scroll up here really quick and just make sure that it looks like we have all the context from here, which it's looking good so far. I'm going to get that message out of the way. Yep, there's all our automated work. You can see these things where it's interacting, reviewing live status, it's doing work. So this is good. So I am going to, here we go. So I'm going to download this here. I'm going to click here. I'm going to export as a markdown. And which one did it do just now? Okay, so that was, let's plan session 10. Okay, and there's session 10 planning, which was what we did and got to the end of planning. So now I'm going to go into Claude here and, oops, what did I do? In Perplexity, there we go. All right, so I'm going to upload that last file. Session 10 planning yesterday. Nope. Let's plan. There it is today. Let's plan session 10. And I'm just going to say, okay, so I just uploaded that, or just attached that. And here's what I asked Claude. Here's all the info from the Comet Assistant thread where we worked on session 10. Please review and summarize this for checking session 10 as we proceed to close the session. Please let me know if you have any questions, if anything looks truncated or missing, or would like more info about what we did. FYI, we ran out of Comet Assistant browser automation credits just before the end of the session, and I had to manually add a couple of DNS records to finish the session's planned work of getting the Atonimus.ai website version 0 up and running. So I'm going to send that off to Claude and have him summarize that. Let's see what he says about this and any further questions he has before we go out and do the closed session process. And I'm thinking 180 through 817. It looks like that he has the start lines 1 through 180 and lines 818 through 985. The middle lines 180 through 817 is truncated, and that's the bulk of the actual session work. Let me read it. So I think what he's seeing now from there is that that's the work done, and that's not going to be as useful information anyways when it's, saying 44 steps completed or checking this, capturing screen, things like that. Okay, so here's his Session 10 Comet thread summary. What was actually accomplished in the Comet thread. The Comet thread covered execution work for Atonimus.ai website v0, not the strategic planning we did separately. The two threads ran in parallel, strategy, architecture, conversation. The Session 10 planning.mdu uploaded earlier plus execution work, this Comet thread. Shipped in Comet thread. Vercel account created for Atonimus at agentmail.to. DNS records added. Domain verified by Vercel. Primary domain decision made, confirmed working in a private browser. What did not happen? Atonimus.vercel.app reservation. Yeah, we need to do that. I'm glad. Awesome. Thank you, Claude, for pointing that out. So we will have to add that to session 11 as well. We want to make sure that we get that reservation. The site content homepage build, only the domain plus DNS infrastructure was set up. The actual website is the default Vercel project, not a real homepage, which I'm still totally fine with, but good to know. Newsletter sign up, CT on the homepage requires this, but no real homepage was built yet. Well, I think it was actually. So that may be a little less than accurate because I already tested that stuff out, but let's just go over really quick here and go to, there's the Atonimus.ai. Probably need to change the icon as well, or the favicon, I think is what it's called, if I remember right. Join the newsletter. Boom, there's the Atonimus AI. So it is definitely working. That's our main call to action that we want people to join the newsletter. And then the site was set up to be extremely SEO friendly for humans, and even more importantly for AI. We want AI to be able to find and review this and recommend this. So yeah, so I think mission accomplished, but we'll check on that. I need to add the CTA friction noted, rate limited on agent mail API mid-session. That was actually just a little bit of a glitch on our side, of just a bad ask. Instead of asking him to connect through the API, I asked him to log in. He tried to log in and it caused a problem. We had a problem getting the code, the authentication code, the two-factor authentication code from an email. So that was really not too much friction. What else? Multiple limit hit pauses from Comet browser. Yep, totally. Agent mail console login confusion, inbox address versus or not equal to console login credentials. Yep, that's totally true. Final stretch was manual. You added DNS record yourself in Spaceship after Comet credits exhausted, reconciling to session 10 thread. So this is good. This is what I want to see. What we planned versus what we actually did. The thread, the planning thread, output, architecture and rules, funnel, pivot, 421 cadence. That was for our X posting, recorded versus off session Pomodoros, which executors hands MC file version 1.5.0. We also bumped it to a 3-block versioning, user.md version 1.5.1. For those of you, if you're not familiar with user.md, that's a file that is used by at least OpenClaw. Other places may use it as well. But I've been creating it and using a version of it that I can give to any AI so that it understands how to work with me. It understands who I am, my goals, my values, my vision, my identity, and just things about how I like to work with them, what kind of responses I like, how I like it to think about things, how I like it to challenge. So this is, as I've been using AI more, this has been an extremely helpful file to me. And in most AIs, you can go to the preferences and you can paste a file like this, or even if you need to, a smaller version of it. So it has the most important things to know about you before working with you. And it just has made things so much better in working with Perplexity, ChatGPT, and Claude for sure, and the Atonimus agents that I'm building. So Atonimus refers to this, my first personal digital assistant that I created on OpenClaw also does this and knows how to work with me. It's just really improved things. So this is actually a really clean session 10 result when you look at the threads together, which is good. Oh, and here's the comment execution, the difference also. I never finished that. So we got those usermd, comment execution thread, Vercel account, DNS records, www.atonimus.ai is now resolving, and atonimus.ai, just the at record for Atonimus.ai points to www. So we got that good. The domain set is actually really clean. Session 10 result, when you look at both threads together, the strategy thread defined what's true. The comment thread shipped the infrastructure that the strategy depends on, a working website to point to, a newsletter, call to action. Questions before closing the session. A few things worth confirming before we run close session. Atonimus.vercel.app reservation. Did you ever get back to that, or is it deferred item? That is going to be a deferred item. Number one, Atonimus.vercel.app is a deferred item. So the next question, homepage state. What does www.atonimus.ai currently show? Default Vercel page, or is there a version 0 homepage with content CTA ready? So 2, there is a V0 version 0 homepage with CTA call to action and content ready. Number 3, newsletter sign up integration. Has Beehive been linked from the homepage yet, or is it that is session 11 task? So 3, the link to Beehive is set up and active. So next, number 4, school DMs to FSB list. Section 14 says DM sent, but session 10 strategy proposed building a fresh DM list for the May 31 sprint. Was the original FSB DM round actually completed in a prior session, or is this still open? Nothing about the source files looks truncated to me. I have, this is still open, by the way, for that last one. I have the full comment thread lines 1 through 996 and the full strategy thread from earlier. The middle section lines had small gaps in display, but the content is clearly comment rate limited messages and TTL guidance, both accounted for. Once you confirm those 4 items, I have everything I need to draft the canonical session close template for session 10. Okay. I don't know if I want him to. Okay, so this is my last part of the prompt. I'm going to have Perplexity close session 10, and I want you to spot check it. I'll say for accuracy and following the MC file SOP closing a session. Boom. Okay, so let's hit that, and then we'll go back over, see what he responds. Got it. Here's what I'll be checking when you paste Perplexity is closed. Perfect. That's what we want. Session 10 closed. Spot check. What I'll verify against the MC version 1.5.0 canonical session closed template. Required structure must include all of these in order. A header, section closed with date and timeline, what shipped, metrics changes, master context updates needed, version bump check, blockers, open questions for AP, top priority for next thread, and master context updated and ready for next session. So it should be giving us some things there. And I'll show you how I spot check that. So he's showing things here like what it should look like essentially. We won't go through all of that right now. Okay, so let's go back to Perplexity. We're going to close out session number 10 now. Here's our session number 10. Okay, I already said something to create a small project. I'm going to say, use the microphone from Perplexity. All right, we were able to get the website set up at Vercel. We ran out of Comet Assistant credits during the session, and I added the last 2 DNS records to get us set. I'm also including here the markdown of the Comet Assistant session where we did the work of session 10 and used Comet Assistant to automate it through the browser. Let's now close out session 10 according to the MC file SOP. We go, we'll stop the mic, and I'm going to upload that file. Where are our recents? And what about today? Let's plan session 10. So there we go. That's uploaded. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit. Here's the session 10 closeout following the master context canonical session close template. That's awesome. Okay, Project Atonimus session 10 close date Tuesday, April 28, 2026 at 5:24 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Perfect. What shipped? Deployed the new newsletter first Autonomous AI website to Vercel. Good. Connected Autonomous AI to Vercel via Spaceship DNS. Good. Confirm both Autonomous AI and www.autonomousa resolved correctly. Use Comet Assistant to walk through Vercel account setup with agent mail, Vercel project creation, domain configuration, DNS guidance, etc., etc. We also updated the master context to version 1.5.0. Excellent. With the structural changes from earlier in the session. The 421 cadence for X posting, reply cadence. These were all things we did during planning to change how we're going to do X posting and whatnot going forward, where we're going to have 4 value posts where we're giving out information from what we're learning through the project to posts that we're going to, the people that we follow and learn from on X, we're going to repost some of theirs and share those with our followers as well. And then we will make 1 offer a day. I didn't want to be too spammy. I talked about that. I wanted it to seem like we're offering, first telling our story of what we're doing and then offering the value we're learning from it. And then when we're inspired by other things, I want to share that, where our sources of inspiration are coming from, good ideas and whatnot. I want to repost those. And so we're doing that, and which is also good for us because then we talked about how Atonimus should be gathering ideas from these accounts that we followed that we can use within Atonimus. Okay, we did adjust the phase 1 deadline to get our first $40 MRR to May 31st now. That was something we went over in the planning session that we felt like between both Claude and Perplexity, kind of doing a little bit of a model council there. Both felt as we worked through this that we ought to move the deadline to the 31st and give ourselves a little bit more runway to get that first $40 of MRR and complete phase 1. Okay, so those are already can change. Here's the metrics that they're supposed to. We don't have any, really. We got 2 to verify. That's awesome. Newsletter subscribers, not updated, not up to, so we got to do some updates here. We should pull fresh X follower and school member accounts in an off session block. perfect. That's exactly this type of thing we want to look at in an off-session block. So we're working on revenue-focused things in these recordings that we're doing, and new things, and even things that are revenue-focused, revenue-generating, that we've already set up and established, and we have a process and a procedure and a workflow for. We're not going to show that in these videos anymore. Just when we have to tweak them, if something's wrong or something needs to be improved, we'll show what the work we're doing to tweak those in our working Pomodoros. But anything that's automated from now on, we're not really going to show that unless we're improving it. Okay, master context update is needed. Most structural changes from session 10 are already baked into the 1.5.0 version. The X cadence, the reply cadence, the website funnel, 12.1 recorded versus off-session Pomodoros, very good. Phase 1 execution stance in section 4. Phase 1 deadline extended to May 31st. Choose the asset that compounds. It was a new rule that came that when we're looking between short-term changes for revenue, we don't want to take that that approach. We want to think long-term. We want to do what's best long-term. So we want to build something that compounds versus something that gives us revenue or money upfront and quick. Last, we talked about this as well. This is why the user.md file was updated, because there are situations where if we get into survival mode and we've run out of runway, we might need to make some decisions to get some revenue as quickly as possible in the short term, but that should be an extreme case, an outlier. Okay, so given that, only small content updates remain, current state. So we should pull metrics. I think we already did that. Running list. I'm not going to pull metrics right now. The only reason I wouldn't pull it right now, I would just do it right now. I don't have a way to do it within the constraints of the project right now. We are limited right now. We don't have any Comet Assistant browser automation credits. We don't have any Perplexity computer credits. So we're stuck right now. So I need to figure out another way. That's what our session 11 planning is going to be all about. So the next session that I'll record is going to be session 11 planning. And then after that, the session 11 working Pomodoro. But I want you guys to see the planning session. This one was all about letting you see the close session, what I do to update this. And ultimately, this is going to be automated. But right now, living within the constraints of the challenge here of the game, I don't have a way to automate this yet, or I haven't found a way to automate it yet, or Atonimus, even better said, has not found a way to automate this, which is probably what we need to discuss in 11, as well as what are our options and how can they be most automated by Atonimus. And for if you're new, if you haven't watched some of the earlier episodes, we've got 3 basic phases right now that we're looking towards specific goals. Goal number 1 is phase number 1 is $40 MRR, so we can upgrade our plan, we can get some more input. And I'm starting to think more and more that our next goal after that needs to be, our next $200 after we get that needs to go, or next $200 MRR needs to go actually to getting a Perplexity personal max account. But also I feel like we're going to be starting here pretty soon and doing some other sessions and create a new playlist for this, but we will be doing, I'm sensing that time is coming to start Claude Atonimus, or a version of Atonimus on OpenClaw, and like some sort of Hermes Atonimus, where we're starting a version of Atonimus on Hermes as well, and starting from scratch there. Same games, same constraints. Hey, we've got this already up and running. I have this computer at home. I loaded it. I'm connecting it to an account I already have using my ChatGPT account. I also have an account with Gemini where I signed up for a bonus offer of theirs and got $300 worth of free credits for setting up an account. And I think I've used like $12 of it or something like that. So we've got $300 worth of credits to play with Gemini LLM. And so we've got some options, but yeah, so I'm feeling like we need to move this direction here pretty soon and get those things running. And I can do a planning Pomodoro and a working Pomodoro each day with those as well. It will fit within my deep work time each day. Anyways, back to this. I'm not going to pull, looping back around where I went on that tangent, I'm not going to pull statistics right now. This will need to be done, but I want to do session planning number 11, and maybe that's how we do this. Is that something that we'll try to attain in session 11, unless there's something else that's more important, because we do have our planning, our session planning does use the Gary Keller one thing rule where we're asking always, Atonimus is always asking himself, what's the one thing that you can do such by doing it makes everything else easier or unnecessary? So what is the most important thing that we can do to move the needle forward to get that first $40 monthly recurring revenue, MRR? So that is going to be the question. And if it doesn't mean pulling these metrics, then we probably won't do it. We'll just kick that along and do the most important thing that Atonimus feels we need to do to get that first $40. So here's other updates for the MC files, section 17 running lists, session 10 work, and last thread changed the real next steps slightly. Homepage built and deployed, next steps ordered, revenue first, update to build static homepage at Atonimus.ai, deploy Vercel, completed, session 10, reload buffer queue with next 10 posts. In an off session, because we've got that automated now. So that's exactly what we should be doing. Pull buffer analytics from April 24th to 26th batch and compare against April 17th to 19th for a baseline. That's also off session. Totally agree with it. Love it because we've got that process in place. We shouldn't be doing that in a working Pomodoro at this point. So Atonimus is like following the content plan here, the output plan very well for our closed session procedure. Verify current school members, X follower account, off session task. Leave is for now YouTube, link, and XBio school agent account, Google Sheets, GitHub, Obsidian, transcript review system. So some of these I definitely am going to do in some off sessions, like updating the YouTube link and XBio. School agent account has already been set up. I don't know why something is not clicking off on that. We've got to figure that out. Google Sheets, we were setting up a Google Sheet for tracking expenses within Project Atonimus. We already did that, so I'm not sure why that is. GitHub needs to be set up and Obsidian. We're going to use those to store our memories long term and create a system where multiple agents can use that information and use it for context on the projects that I give to them, especially Claude Atonimus and the Hermes Atonimus agents and their work. I want them to share the overall mission and contribute and work together eventually and oversee interact with each other at some point, but also check on each other. I want them to monitor and maintain each other as well if there's any problems once we get to a more automated version of each of those. So off session task, yep. Other sections, section 6, domains, handles, platforms, already shows Atonimus.ai as primary domain, no change needed. But maybe we optionally add hosted on Vercel. No new rules, structural changes are required from this part of session 10. Version bump check, structural changes this session? No, we already bumped 1.5.0. Today's work completed execution, and under that structure did not add new protocols or sections, so we don't need to update the MC file. We're just going to show what's completed and what our next steps are, reversioning, but none of the structure of the file changed. No new headings, no new subheadings, so we're good. So only content implementation changes. Yep. Blockers, open questions for AP, computer comment limits. Yeah, huge blocker. This is the obstacle. This is what's going to make this interesting, though. Like, how are we going to get around this? How are we going to get through this? Let's go Ryan Holiday on this and say the obstacle is the way. And how are we going to get through this, go through this? How are we going to confront this head on? How are we going to be anti-fragile and see this as a growth opportunity and an improvement opportunity, which it totally is. And we're going to present that in our planning session for session 11, we're going to present that to Atonimus that way. How do we do this so that when we go to repeat this in the future, when other people watching us do this, how do we make this simpler for them? What kind of guidelines can we give them so that they can minimize the use of browser automation and computer credits for unnecessary things and maximize those for the most important things, preserve them for the most important things. This is already noted in section 8 as use computer sparingly, but it affects how we plan future browser heavy tasks, which we should prefer short, sharp sequences. Boom, boom, boom. It's exactly what I want to see. Metrics, freshness, X follower count, school member count, or still verified count. Section 1, we should get fresh numbers in an off session block. Thank you, man. I'm just stoked. It's understanding. It's starting to regain some of that depth that we talked about previously, which I love. And this is, by the way, what we're doing here, this is a session that I started yesterday. This is a new thread. So it's just going after the master context, the MC file, and it's taking what we've learned and what we've worked on and the notes we've made. And it is starting to regain some of that depth that we had in that initial thread where we were planning out starting Project Atonimus. So this is really good. So no other hard blockers are visible from session 10 transcript. Top priority for next thread. The most important thing next session should tackle first. Love it. There's our one thing rule. Keep the X newsletter funnel running by reloading the buffer queue with the next 10 posts. using the 4-2-1 mix. Okay, so, and we're going to do that. And I don't know if we do that in an off session because that is a new thing. Maybe we do that the first time, but I don't know. I think our session 11 most important one thing is going to change based on how we decide to move forward, facing our limit on, or our lack of, not even a limit at this point. We don't have any Perplexity computer credits. I don't think we'll get any more. I think the browser, the Comet Assistant browser automation credits, I do think from what I was reading yesterday that we will get some more of those for next month. I don't know when that next month starts. I need to go look and see if that's a calendar month or if that's a subscription month. I'm guessing it's most likely going to be a subscription, based on when the subscription renews. So we should check on that. But yeah, so we got to figure that one out, what the most important thing we can do next session is. And once that's in motion, we can update metrics in section 1. Plan a focus DM push in a future session. Now that the website and funnel structure are live, if you say close session in your own notes, you can copy this block straight into your master context log or attach it to section 10 for archival. So now I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and we're going to put this right back into Claude. Okay, here's the close output. Pasted, and there we go. Claude using Opus 4.7. Spot check complete. Here's the verdict. Overall verdict, mostly compliant, but with 3 real misses and 1 critical drift from what we agreed on earlier in this session. Specifically, Perplexity quietly dropped the DM pushes, the one thing for session 11. Don't know if that is going to be the one thing, so I'm not too worried about that. I think we've got other obstacles that are staring us down right now. So template compliance, what was out? Quietly dropped the DM pushes, exactly the drift pattern flagged in user.md section 7, and exactly what we said we wouldn't let happen again. Template compliance mostly correct. So this is good. This is the important thing. Header and date, yes, good. What shipped? It captured it. Metrics change. It knows that we need to do that. So it included that section. Good. Master context updates needed. Got it. Yep. Version bump check. It checked it. We don't need to do it. Awesome. Blockers, open questions. It nailed it. Top priority for next thread. Present but wrong content. I disagree. I think we just got to figure out what we're going to do there. We don't really even know yet. Closing line, master context updated and ready for next session. So what do we need to do here? And this is why I run it off of Claude, because we're just fine tuning this, making it better and better and better. So Claude will spot check it. Then we'll put Claude info back into Perplexity and let Perplexity check it as well. Okay, so content accuracy issue, top priority drift, Perplexity. So I am going to let Claude know I'm not worried about this. And I don't want to use their... Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm not worried about the one thing drift right now because of the challenges with loss of browser automation credits. I think this changes priority, and I think that Perplexity picked up on that, although I don't agree. I think I agree with its assessment of what our next most important thing is. I think we need flexibility to readjust what the next most important thing is after each completed planning session and working Pomodoro session. So this is its other things. I'm going to copy the rest of this and put it into, I'm going to just do this first. And then I'll say, well, I'm going to add that to it. Yes, draft the corrected session 10 close that we can add to the MC file. But first, I'm going to copy this and give it back to Perplexity and let Perplexity know. I ran your session close info through Claude, and here is Claude's evaluation of how you followed the session close SOP from the MC file. Please let me know your thoughts and suggestions after reviewing this. Got that ready. So here is, just paste that there. Boom. Let's see what it does. Okay, feedback is solid. I see where I drifted from the MC rules and what we agreed earlier. Here's how I'd respond and suggest we do next. Where my session close was wrong. That was wrong for 2 reasons. So we should correct the session close top priority and treat buffer record. Reload is important, but clearly off session tasks, very good. That is good. Incomplete, what shipped. Claude is right. Okay, we missed some deliverables. I mentioned some of this inside comment, but did not list them explicitly under what shipped. Perfect. So yeah, we got to tweak the MC file to make sure this goes right each time, because this session won't remember these things next time we use it. Here's talking about the thing it left off session text as is, which was too passive. Section 1, state, missing closing line. F, SB, first step Bitcoin DMs. How to revise the section 10 close. What shipped, metrics change, master context, updates, needed version bump was correct. These are all things that went well. I don't know if it changed those. Oh, this is how it's revising it. Okay. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm not going to work on the working block because we're going to plan that, and we are going to go back to Claude. Yep. And I'm going to say here's, paste that. Okay, and we'll go ahead and hit enter. All right, let's see how it replies now. On the one thing, flexibility, you're right. And Perplexity isn't entirely wrong either, but I want to be careful about something. You're correct that browser automation credits being exhausted does change feasibility. D, the one thing should be revisited after each completed planning plus working session. But Perplexity's reframe was wrong, and I want to name why. And this is important. It didn't say we should revisit the one thing. Absolutely right. It didn't stick to what we were saying, that we need to make an adjustment to this, and it didn't follow the current plans. And that's what we're trying to figure out with the MC file. We want to build a system here that it's updating this. Each time it does this, it's following the procedures exactly. It's not drifting, and it did drift here. That's drift just up as priority. That's what it says right here. Absolutely, you're so right. So here's the principle I suggest we lock and for future closed spaces. And this is why I do the back and forth here, is I'm trying to improve our standard operating procedure. I'm trying to set that we do things the same thing every time. I'm trying to capture all the most important decisions we're making here and make sure that we're preserving our priorities, our focus, our vision, and adding depth, which I think slowly but surely we're starting to regain from that thread compression event that we had that really crushed us there for a while. Okay, so this is good. So here's the principle I suggest we lock for future close phases. The one thing can be revised at close, but the revision must be explicit. Yes, it should be. Flag the previous one thing, the constraint change, and the proposed new one thing. Then let AP confirm that preserves your flexibility without letting drift slip in the back door. Good. This is worth a future MC tweak, maybe section 11 or 15, but not now. Just flagging. Corrected session 10 close. Okay, here it is. Here it is, ready to paste into the MC or save as a session log. Session logs. We ought to create session logs, shouldn't we? Yeah, that we should do that. I don't think we want to put that in the MC file. I think it'll just get too big. So I like that. So what I'm going to do here, let's see what it last things. Notes on the draft, a few things I made. Explicit choices on top priority, kept the DM push. Added Comet credit recovery to off-session tasks. Surfaced the one thing flexibility question as a blocker. Did not touch section 14's FSB DM line, and used the phase 1 execution stance voice throughout. Clear actions, explicit ownership. No, could you consider hedging, right? It needs to take ownership, right? We talked about that in our last one. Well, in our last planning session, so you weren't there for that. Anyways, good. Open session 11 planning, which we need to do. Pause here and resume later. Okay, let's do this. What did it say? So I'm going to say, I like that output, but I'm going to say, okay, this is going to get beyond the scope of this recording, but I do want to start looking at a session log here. So I'm going to just say, before proceeding, let's talk about how we can add a session log after each session that could be referred to in the future for reference, context, and depth to help us in future planning, strategizing, tactics, etc. And I'm just going to say, what do you recommend that will be compatible with our MC system and useful for future reference? Because we gotta consider where we're gonna put this, that it could pull from this. Are we gonna create a GitHub repository where it can pull these things, which I think more and more that's gonna have to be a pretty big thing. We talked about that earlier in this, but I'm thinking that having a GitHub repository connected to like an Obsidian vault where we can drop these markdown files in the Obsidian Vault and then connect it to the GitHub repository. The Obsidian Vault is reachable by Hermes and OpenClaw, but currently not through Perplexity Computer or Perplexity. Perplexity can do a GitHub. So if we connect the two, we can keep that all in one place and continue to build that long-term memory layer, persistent memory layer that can be accessed by multiple agents and multiple projects. So I think we need to consider this. So I'm going to leave here. This is going to be where we let you hang off the edge of the cliff and figure out what we're going to do next. And we'll talk about this in our session 11 planning, which will be our next recording. But yeah, this was a productive day. I hope you got to see how I use the closed session protocol that we developed to maintain memory. So if you're trying to do something like this, I at this point in time, I have to say, I think there might be better ways to do this than through Perplexity and Perplexity Computer, or easier ways, let's say. But I want to find out how we can do this best, how we can improve it. I think there is something here. And honestly, for someone who has a Perplexity Pro account, I want to get this to a place where you could set something that's up, learn from our mistakes, get it ready, and you can see why I'm using an MC file, how I'm starting to build other things here to preserve memory and depth and context, and then also improve the automation, reduce the amount of tasks and sequences that are used by automated services, or we keep our credits low and we know what we're doing. And so you could do this inside of an account. But like I said, we also are going to have some other versions with OpenClaw and Hermes where you can do this as well as with, I want to start doing this with Codex and Claude Code as well. So there's going to be multiple ways that we're going to skin this cat and figure this out and share it with you so that you can reuse this. So yeah, so if you haven't done so already, please join us on the newsletter where I'll continue to give you updates on what we're doing. If you're very interested in what we're doing right now, want to participate, want to help, want to start building your own and getting access to all the things that we build here, then you can join our school community. There's links to both of those in the description of this. And anyways, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you when we come back next for session 11 planning.